Our top focus tonight is from Sudan, where after relentless violence and that brutal struggle for power between the rebel forces and the government troops, now mass killings have been reported in a Sudanese city, deepening what's already been one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. We are decoding all of this for you and getting you updates from on the ground in just a bit. Also on the show for you tonight, a Gravitas special on fake universities and empty schools of India. You don't want to miss this. We are getting you a detailed report on the latest on the Pakistan-Afghanistan tensions and those talks. All this and more coming up. For the last few years, while all eyes, in a way, were fixed on the war in Gaza, on the conflicts in West Asia, the war in Ukraine, the world's worst humanitarian crisis was unfolding somewhere else, a place very few were talking about, and even today, many choose to look away from. We are talking about Sudan. The situation there is dire, to say the least, and the world can no longer afford to ignore this. Atrocities, mass killings, starvation, bombings. These words perhaps don't even begin to describe what the people there have been living through. For 2.5 years, you heard that right, 2.5 years of relentless violence, a brutal struggle for power between the rebel forces and the government troops. And in the latest now, Sudanese rebels have driven the government forces out of the city of El-Fasher, the last stronghold of the Sudanese regime in western Darfur. The attack, in fact, has led to allegations of genocide and deepened what's already been one of the world's most severe humanitarian crises. The rebels in question, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, have besieged El-Fasher for over a year, their final obstacle to full control of Darfur. In fact, Sudan's army chief, the country's de facto head of state, has acknowledged the loss of El-Fasher, saying his troops retreated amid the systematic killing and widespread destruction of the civilians. In fact, in recent days, the RSF launched a final assault, capturing the army's last remaining positions in the city. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies confirmed that 5 Sudanese Red Crescent volunteers were killed in Bara on Monday. 3 others remain missing after the RSF took control of the town on Saturday. Analysts are saying Sudan is now effectively split along an east-west divide, with the RSF running a parallel government across Darfur, while the army holds territory along the Nile and the Red Sea in the north, east, and central regions. And now, who are the RSF? Let's just break this down for you. What do they want? The RSF is a paramilitary group with an estimated 100,000 fighters. That's half the size of the government forces, by the way. The RSF has a history tied to ethnically driven violence. The group emerged from the Janjaweed militia. The Janjaweed militia, which was responsible for the genocide in Darfur during the early 2000s, reportedly, that had resulted in an estimated 300,000 deaths. In fact, for many, the fall of El-Fasher has revived the painful memories of the 2000s genocide, when the Janjaweed burned villages and killed hundreds of thousands in what became one of the worst atrocities of the 21st century. But this time around, the horrors are not hidden. The RSF aims to establish a parallel government in the region and has been fighting the Sudanese armed forces since April 2023. And since then, according to estimates, more than 150,000 people have been killed, over 14 million have been displaced from their homes. The numbers are staggering. The foreign ministry, aligned with the army, has said that these crimes are being shamelessly documented by the perpetrators themselves, quote unquote. Since the city's fall on Sunday, RSF fighters have reportedly circulated videos showing executions and abuse of civilians. An RSF-led coalition on Tuesday announced the formation of a committee to verify the authenticity of those videos, reportedly claiming many were fabricated by the army. Meanwhile, the United Nations has warned of ethnically motivated violations and atrocities, and the African Union has condemned the escalating violence and alleged war crimes. That's not all. Pro-democracy groups have described what's unfolding as the worst violence and ethnic cleansing since Sunday. While army-allied forces accused the RSF of killing over 2,000 civilians, the UN has said more than 26,000 fled El-Fasher in just 2 days, most on foot towards Tabila. That's about 70 kilometers west. Still around 177,000 civilians remain trapped in El-Fasher, according to the UN's migration agency. In fact, this is after the RSF built a 56-kilometer earthen bomb, sealing off food, medicine, escape routes. Pro-democracy activists also accused the RSF of executing all wounded people receiving treatment at the Saudi hospital in El-Fasher. Satellite analysis by the Yale's Humanitarian Research Lab has revealed door-to-door killings reportedly, mass graves, red patches and bodies visible, consistent with the eyewitness accounts. The red patches? According to analysts, these are blood pools from the bodies bleeding out. Analysts now warn that the current violence may not stop at El-Fasher and that it would spread to other non-Arab communities. Today itself, the United Nations World Food Programme says that its 2 top staff in Sudan have been ordered to leave the country. The country director and emergency coordinator have reportedly been declared persona non grata and given 72 hours to leave. No reason, no explanation reportedly, just an order in the middle of that grave humanitarian crisis. In fact, the World Food Programme says this comes at a pivotal time when 24 million people in the country are facing acute food insecurity, famine, malnutrition, starvation. The decision now forcing the World Food Programme to pull back, jeopardizing the operations that feed millions. And all of this as the RSF is tightening the grip on El-Fasher. The killing of the volunteers in Kordofan only added to the global outrage, and the world is beginning to speak out. The European Union, for that matter, has condemned the quote-unquote brutality of the RSF, calling out their targeting of civilians based on ethnicity. The EU's foreign policy chief says the RSF bears responsibility for protecting civilians, including aid workers, local responders, and journalists. The EU has demanded immediate and safe access for humanitarian agencies and safe passage for anyone trying to flee. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, decried what it called grave human rights violations by the RSF in El-Fasher. Qatar has also expressed deep concern over the humanitarian crisis, urging the RSF to uphold their responsibility to protect the civilians. But on the ground, the killings continue. The starvation is deepening. Sudan is the world's gravest humanitarian disaster, and the world can no longer afford to look the other way. Let's now shift our focus towards a rather worrying trend in India's education sector, the rise of fake universities. The University Grants Commission, UGC, has released a list of 22 fake universities operating across the country. Institutions that look real, sound real, but are not authorized to award degrees. And according to the UGC's latest notification, these so-called universities have been misleading students and parents, pretending to be legitimate centers of higher learning, all without legal recognition under the UGC Act of 1956. And here's the most alarming part. Any degree from these universities is invalid, carrying no academic or professional value whatsoever. The UGC says that Delhi tops the list with 10 such fake universities, followed by Uttar Pradesh with 4. Those numbers on your screen. In fact, the Commission has once again appealed to students and parents to verify before the enrollment happens. Visit the UGC's official website. Check the recognition status and ensure that the university you are applying to is legally approved to actually confer degrees. Only institutions established by an act of parliament or a state legislature or those declared deemed to be universities under Section 3 of the UGC Act are actually authorized to do so. And while the UGC battles these fake universities emerging, another crisis brewing at the grassroots level, schools with no students at all. According to the Ministry of Education, nearly 8,000 schools across India reported zero enrollment in the 2024-25 academic session. West Bengal topping the list with over 3,800 empty schools, 3,800, followed by Telangana and Madhya Pradesh. Shockingly, more than 20,000 teachers were still reportedly employed in these schools, including nearly 18,000 in West Bengal alone. Shocking numbers. Meanwhile, states like Uttar Pradesh are now moving to revoke the recognition of the schools that have not had a single student for 3 consecutive years. On the other hand, the UGC has given a green signal to 101 universities and 20 category institutions to actually offer open and distance learning programs for the 2025-26 academic year. But tonight's takeaway, in a way, is clear authenticity matters the most in this race for degrees and qualifications. A shiny brochure or a promising name, perhaps, is not enough. Before you invest your time, your effort, your money, verify, cross-check, and trust only recognized institutions. Because as far as education and your future is concerned, a fake degree does not just waste your years, your time, it can cost you your future and your dreams. US President Donald Trump is once again in the spotlight. At the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea, he sought to project himself as a deal maker, emphasizing that he was not only aiming for a trade deal with China, but also claiming progress on deals with other major countries. Ahead of his high-stakes meeting with the Chinese President Xi Jinping tomorrow, Trump reiterated his intention to strengthen economic ties with India and had these words to say about the Indian Prime Minister. Listen to this.
Prime Minister Modi is the nicest looking guy. He says, oh, and he looks like you'd like to have your father, like, he's a killer. He's tough as hell. Again, going back to the wars, it's so important. If you look at India and Pakistan, so I'm doing a trade deal with India, and I have great respect and love. As you know, for Prime Minister Modi, we have a great relationship.
But Trump's way of carrying out deals with India is currently the tariff war, it seems. In August, Trump's administration had imposed duties on Indian imports as additional penalties, remember. In fact, Trump also repeated those disputed claims of personally helping to secure a ceasefire. This was back in May, and asserted that trade measures and tariffs played a role in easing tensions. Trump further compared his handling of international crises with that of President Biden, questioning whether Biden could have achieved similar outcomes. But then, knowing Trump, it seems nothing is straightforward. And in the same breath, Trump spoke about his relationship with Pakistan leaders. Listen to this now.
The Prime Minister of Pakistan is a great guy, and the Field Marshal, they have a Field Marshal. You know why he's a Field Marshal? He's a great fighter. He really is. He's a great guy, too. And so I know them all.
These remarks highlighting Trump's approach, perhaps, on the world stage, showcasing those deals while sending out a message ahead of tomorrow's high-profile talks with the Chinese president. So while Trump continues to push trade agreements, his comments there underlining a mix of business bravado in a way, personal praise as well, and high-octane diplomacy, all these setting the stage for what many are calling a make-or-break meeting with the Chinese leader tomorrow. Pakistan has suffered a major diplomatic and geostrategic blow that has left Islamabad humiliated by the Taliban. The 4-day negotiations brokered by Qatar and Turkey have ended without any progress. According to reports, both the Talibani and Pakistani delegations placed several key demands during those talks in Istanbul. Kabul demanded that Pakistan immediately stop funding or facilitating terror groups such as the Islamic State Khorasan province, and also made it clear to Islamabad to take the onus of dealing with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan or the BLA, as it is a purely Pakistani problem and not Afghanistan's responsibility, as both are inside Pakistani territory. Taliban also told Pakistan to stop repeatedly violating Afghan airspace and conducting cross-border strikes. They further directed Islamabad to halt such incursions and ensure that no opposition groups use Pakistani soil to launch attacks on Afghan territory. Now, the frustration of the fallout within Pakistan is more than evident. Pakistan's information minister admitted the talks failed to deliver any workable solution while accusing the Taliban of ignoring Pakistan's concerns. And the frustration was even more evident with the Pakistan Defense Minister's statements. Khwaja Asif threatened to quote-unquote obliterate Taliban after the collapse of the talks. In a television interview with local media, Khwaja Asif admitted that Pakistan is the creator of Taliban and has to correct the mistakes it made in the past. Further stating that its own actions brought Pakistan to such a situation. Afghanistan's Interior Ministry spokesman, meanwhile, told local media that any attack from Pakistan would be met with a response that will, quote-unquote, serve as a lesson for Pakistan and a message for others. Amid the breakdown in Istanbul, Pakistan's Interior Minister had met his Afghan counterpart in Iran, describing disagreements as normal and solvable through dialogue. In fact, Mohsin Naqvi could be seen cajoling his counterpart. But with diplomacy faltering and rhetoric hardening, it seems, one thing is clear: Pakistan has to accept the new reality. Islamabad can no longer consider itself as the bigger brother of Afghanistan. The Taliban has made it clear that it is an independent identity, independent entity. Pakistan Defense Minister's narrative of calling Afghanistan, quote-unquote, graveyard of empires simply no longer holds true. Because Kabul writes its narratives on its own terms.
killed an Israeli soldier, so the Israelis hit back.
The fragile ceasefire in Gaza is once again on the brink of collapse. A lot happening. After a brief pause in the fighting, explosions and air raids lit up the skies over Gaza overnight, shaking the already devastated enclave. Both Israel and Hamas trading accusations of violating the truce, but the latest escalation showing that peace remains painfully out of reach. On Tuesday night itself, Israeli warplanes carried out a fresh wave of airstrikes across Gaza. The Israeli Prime Minister ordered what he called forceful and powerful strikes, blaming Hamas for allegedly returning the wrong remains of Israeli hostages. Israel, in fact, released a video claiming Hamas staged the discovery of a body. Inside Gaza, health officials saying at least 104 Palestinians were killed in the overnight bombardment. Nearly half of them were children. Gazans could be seen sifting through the rubble, searching for any sign of life or simply the remnants of their homes. Entire neighborhoods flattened, leaving thousands without shelter, food, or hope.
Complete destruction. Nothing remained at all. No furniture, no washing up liquid, nothing remained. All is ruined.
Israel saying the strikes were a direct response to an attack in Rafah that killed an Israeli reservist. The IDF claims to have destroyed 30 Hamas command centers in what it called a targeted retaliation. US President Donald Trump, who helped broker the ceasefire, defended Israel's response, saying that if attacked, Israel has a right to hit back. Trump's comments reigniting that debate over whether the fragile truce was ever built on solid ground.
These are the biggest people on earth to break promises, pledges, traitors. Not only did they steal our land, but they are also killing our children.
And earlier today, Israel announced that the ceasefire was back in effect. The boundary dividing Israel and Hamas-controlled parts of Gaza, known as the Yellow Line, has become more fortified than ever. Israel is reinforcing barbed wire fences, tank positions, while building new roads and military outposts along the border, reportedly. For Palestinians trapped inside the enclave, there is little sign of relief. With the Israeli tanks closing in and American surveillance drones circling overhead, Gaza continues to remain a battlefield, with millions of Palestinians once again left pondering whether the ceasefire exists more on paper than in reality. And before we go on any further, a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. What's Great Britain's great mold crisis all about? We are getting you the complete story. You don't want to miss this. For years, global investors have looked to Wall Street or perhaps Hong Kong for the next big IPO boom. But now the spotlight has shifted to India, and how? Just ask LG Electronics India. Its $1.3 billion IPO sold out in just 6.5 hours. That's the fastest major IPO take-up in 17 years, by the way. 6 hours, that's all it took. And with that, India has further cemented its status as one of the world's hottest IPO destinations. But this wave is not just about the numbers, it's about who's buying. It's a growing army of Indian investors, from mutual funds, insurers, millions of everyday savers, domestic investors now driving the action. They are reshaping India's capital markets in a way, and in the process reducing the country's dependence on foreign money. It's what some bankers are calling a sea change. For the first time, domestic investors now account for nearly 75% of IPO investments, their highest ever share when proceeds top ₹1 trillion. That's almost $12 billion, almost $12 billion worth of Indian money backing Indian companies. LG's IPO alone saw local investors make up 60% of all bids, while the stock soaring 48% on debut. And it's not an isolated story, by the way. In 2025 so far, more than 300 companies have gone public, raising nearly $16 billion, making India the fourth busiest IPO market in the world. So how exactly did things reach this point? The pandemic, for starters, sparked a new investing culture. Mobile trading apps, easy account openings, financial content on social media brought millions of first-time investors into the market. Those who prefer safer bets are perhaps turning to mutual funds, pumping billions each month. What's the result, you ask? Domestic institutional investors now own a record 19% of companies listed on the National Stock Exchange. Foreign investors down to 17%, their lowest in over a decade. And despite foreign outflows of nearly $16 billion, India's benchmark index continues to rise, on track for a 10th straight annual gain. For companies, that means one thing, and that's confidence. A robust local investor base has made India's markets a preferred place to raise capital, and the pipeline is packed. Several companies, PhonePe, SBI funds, Manipal hospitals, just to name a few, a string of billion-dollar IPOs could soon hit the Lal Street. The energy is electric, to say the least. The mood, pure optimism. Sure, there are warnings about overvaluations and small IPOs being oversubscribed hundreds of times over. A few bad listings could spoil the party, but overall, it's an exciting time. It also means the market in India is maturing and finding its own rhythm. India's IPO boom is no longer just a headline. It's a homegrown story powered by the confidence, the capital, and the conviction of its own people. Shifting focus, Rio de Janeiro became a battlefield. At least 132 people dead after Brazil's deadliest police operation in history. Dozens of people injured, including civilians caught in the crossfire. For 12 hours, helicopters and drones turned the city's neighborhoods into a war zone. Our next report getting you all the details of Brazil's deadly war against drugs.
The air over Rio de Janeiro's Alemão and Penha favelas shook with the thundering hum of gunships. From the sky, tracer rounds sliced through the dawn mist as police helicopters locked targets on the Red Command, Brazil's most feared drug cartel. Streets below turned into a battlefield. About 2,500 Brazilian police personnel and soldiers launched a massive raid, targeting the notorious Red Command drug trafficking gang. The operation is one of the most violent in Brazil's modern history.
It's a larger operation than in 2010, and unfortunately, this time, as throughout this entire term, we don't have the support of armored vehicles or federal security and defense forces. We are alone in this fight today, and we are carrying out the largest operation in history.
Black-clad officers with rifles drawn advanced house by house, shouting commands drowned out by the crackle of gunfire. Residents watched in terror from behind shuttered windows. Smoke rose from burning motorbikes. Charred cars lined the roadside. Outside hospitals, crowds gathered. Desperate families waited for news. Human rights activists and opposition politicians voiced outrage on the massive scale of bloodshed.
Horrible, horrible. It even scares me. I am afraid. I've been living here for years, but I am scared.
And here we are now, in the middle of this chaos, not knowing what to do. There are no buses. Most have already left.
Rio's police said that more than 200 kilograms of drugs were seized in the raid, along with dozens of firearms. The joint operation by civil and military police comes after a year-long investigation. The large-scale operations against criminal groups comes ahead of major events in Rio. The city, which hosted the 2016 Olympics, the 2024 G20 Summit and the BRICS Summit in July this year. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Nearly 4 years into the war, the Russian military says it has achieved a new milestone on the battlefield. Its top drone warfare unit, known as Rubicon, claims to have carried out 10,000 successful strikes across Ukraine. The Russian Defense Ministry, in fact, has marked it as a major moment. For a unit that's become central to Moscow's drone strategy, set up just last August, Rubicon coordinates the frontline operations, innovation, pilot training, and has quickly become one of the most active drone units in Russia's arsenal. The unit says it's been accelerating its missions in recent months and says that more than a third of all strikes, 37.5% to be precise, were aimed at Ukrainian drones, multi-rotors, fixed-wing aircraft, even ground-based robotic systems. About 16% hit communication and electronic warfare systems, disrupting signals, radar, radio control. The rest, Rubicon says, were directed at armored and unarmored vehicles and troop positions. Attacks directly targeting infantry made up just 3.5% of all strikes. These are not just numbers. This is Russia touting its drone warfare capabilities, and it has been releasing a steady stream of footage, in fact, showing drone attacks on Ukrainian positions, vehicles, fortifications. One video purportedly showed strikes on troop shelters and vehicles in Ukraine's Sumy region. Another purportedly showed intercept operations, drones chasing down Ukrainian aircraft and taking out communication towers. Just last week, Rubicon released footage of a camouflaged Ukrainian anti-aircraft system being destroyed using a Lancet loitering munition launched from 55 kilometers away. The same weapon, Russia claims, has previously hit targets over 80 kilometers from launch. But while Russia touts its growing technological edge, the war on the ground showing no signs of slowing down. In Ukraine's southern city of Kherson, a Russian strike on Wednesday reportedly hit a children's hospital, injuring 4 people, including a child. Local authorities released footage showing the aftermath: shattered windows, destroyed wards, medical staff clearing the debris. Further east, in Pokrovsk, a key transport hub in the Donetsk region, fighting has intensified. Ukraine's military saying around 200 Russian troops have infiltrated the city, engaging in small arms firefights and using drones to guide the artillery. The Russian Defense Ministry says its assault groups are pushing near the train station, trying to tighten their hold on the area. Remember, Pokrovsk has long been seen as a strategic gateway, part of Ukraine's defensive line in the east. We've been telling you about this. If Russia captures it, it could open a path deeper into Donetsk, a region that Moscow has been trying to fully occupy for months now. And the president of Ukraine, he called the situation fierce and unrelenting. He also told US outlet Axios that President Putin has privately claimed Russia would capture the entire Donbas region, which includes Donetsk and Luhansk, by October 15. And that claim could not be independently verified. But Russia already controls about 75% of Donetsk, leaving only 6,600 square kilometers under Ukrainian control, to be precise. And as the fighting goes on, Russia's president is turning his attention to a different kind of a weapon, it seems. This week, Putin said Russia successfully tested its Poseidon nuclear-powered torpedo, an underwater drone designed to carry a nuclear warhead and trigger massive radioactive ocean waves capable of wiping out coastal cities. Speaking at a hospital in Moscow, where he met the soldiers injured in the war, the Russian leader described the test as a huge success.
For the first time, we succeeded not only in launching it from a submarine using its booster motor, but also in igniting the nuclear propulsion system, which the vehicle used for a certain period of time. This is a tremendous success.
Putin claimed the Poseidon's power significantly exceeds that of Russia's most powerful missile, the Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile, also known as Satan II. Just days ago, remember, Russia held a nuclear launch drill. Earlier this month, Putin announced a successful test of another nuclear-capable weapon designed to evade any defense system, they claim. Since first revealing both weapons in 2018, Putin has framed them as a response to US missile defense programs and NATO expansion, saying Russia must ensure its deterrence capabilities remain unmatched. As Rubicon marks its 10,000th strike and Russia unveils new weapons, the message from Moscow is unmistakable at this point. The technology is evolving. The war, it seems, is not ending. Switching gears now, Great Britain is dealing with a great mold crisis. You heard that right. One of the world's richest nations is fighting a silent killer inside its own homes. Black mold. It's not new, but what is shocking is that it took the life of a 2-year-old boy to force change. That boy's name? Awab Ishaq. He passed away in 2020 from respiratory failure after breathing in toxic mold that spread through his family's social housing flat in Greater Manchester. His parents had complained. His father, in fact, had begged the housing association to act repeatedly. But nothing changed. And now finally the British government is acting. England has a new law forcing social housing landlords to make sure that their homes are safe. They are calling it Awab's Law. It's a new law that forces social housing landlords to fix dangerous mold and damp within strict deadlines. And if there is an emergency hazard, they have 24 hours to investigate. What about the other problems? 10 days, and repairs must start within 12 weeks. Landlords who fail could end up in court.
Landlords don't meet the requirements of the new legislation, they'll find themselves in the dock in court, and they could face enforcement action or a fine.
But has it come a little too late is the immediate question that arises. Here's a video of where Tikisha Thomas lives with her 14-year-old daughter. It was filmed several years ago, but her home still looks pretty much the same today. Walls streaked with dirty water, ceilings collapsing, mold spores embedded in almost every surface, it seems. Thomas says she has reported the condition of her home to the landlord many times, but nothing has changed.
Over the period of 2-3 years, it's become this, where both two ceilings have collapsed. It's really tough.
Many housing associations say that they simply don't have the money for repairs. The UK government's new law makes landlords responsible for investigating emergency hazards within 24 hours of being told about them. But for some families, it's already too late, unfortunately. Awab Ishaq's family dealing with the fact that their son is no more. But now his father, Faisal Abdullah, says that he hopes that the new law named after his son will make a difference. That if nothing else, it might save someone else's child. In another part, a family is being moved back into their home after it was finally cleaned of mold. Their return is being overseen by the UK's Housing Secretary. The government says Awab's law will serve as a legal backstop to hold social landlords accountable when they fail to make repairs and leave the tenants at risk. Further legislation is expected in the coming years to cover private rented homes as well. Can the new law fix the housing mess, though, is the immediate question. Britain will have to wait and watch for the answers. In India, the president created history as she undertook a sortie in a Rafale fighter jet. President Murmu, who is also the supreme commander of the Indian Armed Forces, wearing that G-suit, took flight from the Indian Air Force Station in Haryana. Take a look. We now get to the story of a remarkable feat, a Guinness World Record set by the Indian Army's Sumit Tomar for the longest no-hands motorcycle wheelie ever recorded. A huge achievement, making India proud. He hails from Bijrol village in Uttar Pradesh's Bhagpat district. You know how far he travelled? Riding along the Bengaluru-Chennai Expressway, a distance of over 1,700 meters, balancing his motorcycle on a single rear wheel without using his hands. Imagine that. He's set that Guinness World Record, beating the earlier record set by a Swedish rider. That record was of 918 meters. And here's wishing Sumit Tomar huge congratulations for that remarkable achievement. After decades, Delhi once again reached for the skies quite literally in an ambitious attempt to make it rain as pollution and poor AQI continue to make headlines. The Delhi government and the Indian Institute of Technology in Kanpur carried out cloud seeding trials. Aircraft were flown over several parts, releasing fine particles of silver iodide and salt. The idea was simple: seed the clouds, nudge them into producing rainfall. What about the results? No measurable rain. The Indian Met Department recorded no precipitation over Delhi. Listen to this first.
We did not get a lot of cloud moisture. It was only around 15%. So with that low moisture content, the possibility of making it rain is very small. So we did not achieve success from that perspective, but still we got a lot of very useful information.
The Delhi government signed an MOU with IIT Kanpur last month to carry out 5 cloud seeding trials. The director of IIT Kanpur blames less moisture for the Delhi dry skies. After seeding, he said that moisture was around just 10 to 15% far below the 50 to 60% typically needed for effective cloud seeding. Experts saying Delhi's winter skies are the main reason for this experiment's failure so far. Cloud seeding depends on the presence of moisture-rich clouds, suitable wind conditions, humidity levels. These elements largely missing from Delhi's dry winter skies. Cloud seeding is basically a method to make the clouds produce more rain or snow. Aircraft, drones, ground-based machines are used to release tiny particles, usually silver iodide, potassium iodide, or salt into clouds. These particles basically act like seeds around which water droplets or ice crystals form, hence the name cloud seeding. Once enough droplets gather, they become heavy, which causes rainfall or snowfall. Recent experiment marking Delhi's third cloud seeding attempt since independence. The first was conducted in 1957, followed by another in 1971, which used silver iodide particles from ground-based generators across central Delhi. For now, Delhi continues to gasp for cleaner air. Even a few drops, whether it's artificial or not, could make a difference. For now, Delhi will have to wait longer for that much-needed relief. When Japan's new Prime Minister strode into office carrying a sleek tote bag, a sleek black tote bag, little did she expect that it will spark a national shopping frenzy. But that's exactly what happened. The now famous accessory, the Grace Delight tote bag by Hamano Leathercraft, has become the latest symbol of political style. Within days of her first appearance as Prime Minister on October 21, searches for that bag skyrocketed, and the brand's website has been flooded with orders reportedly. Priced nearly around $900, the handcrafted leather bag has gained fans not only for its symbolism but also for its practicality. With 4 A4-sized pockets, the Tokyo-based label Hamano Leathercraft, founded in 1880, is no stranger to prestige. It has supplied bags to Japan's imperial household for generations now, reportedly. It's not the first time a political figure has influenced fashion trends, in fact. In South Korea, for example, President Lee Jae-myung's sneakers became a bestseller. In the US, Donald Trump's mugshot merchandise turned into a fundraising juggernaut. In Japan, where subtlety speaks volumes, Takaichi's simple tote has done what no campaign slogan perhaps could, turned quiet practicality into a national statement for support. A lion roaring not on earth but in the stars, and a hidden symphony humming across our Milky Way, captured in radio waves seen never before, 2 breathtaking images revealing the wild beauty of our cosmic home. Take a look.
It is the greatest canvas ever known to the universe itself. Every star, every brushstroke, every nebula, a cosmic sculpture. Astronomers have unveiled 2 stunning portraits that reach across time and distance. The Lion Nebula roaring in color, and the Milky Way unveiled in radiant light. In the deserts of Abu Dhabi, astronomers at the Al-Khatim Observatory spent 32 uninterrupted hours tracking a faint, distant glow light that began its journey 10,000 light years away. The faint light created an astonishing image of the Lion Nebula, a celestial giant in the constellation Cepheus. Shaped like a lion, carved in smoke, its glowing mane is made of hydrogen and oxygen gas, ionized by 2 massive stars 20 times heavier than our Sun. Every hue tells a story. The crimson light marks raw hydrogen torn by ultraviolet radiation. The blue traces ionized oxygen shining through the dark. The nebula itself spans unimaginable 270 light years, a region so vast that it will take light 3 centuries to cross. The scale is impossible to comprehend, yet the detail is intimate. Using a special optical filter to cut out desert light pollution, the observatory revealed a cosmic masterpiece few telescopes have ever captured so clearly. But the universe did not stop there. In another breakthrough, scientists have used radio waves, not visible light, to map the Milky Way in unprecedented detail. The image reveals giant magnetic arms curling around the galactic core, regions once invisible, now blazing in radio frequency. It's the first complete radio portrait of our galaxy, showing what our eyes cannot see. Radiation streaming from ancient supernova, collapsing stars, and star-forming clouds. Together, these two images remind humanity of its place in the small cosmos, yet capable of seeing eternity. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Let's now tell you about a rare glimmer of hope for one of the world's most endangered animals. In Mexico's Gulf of California, conservationists have spotted at least 2 healthy vaquita marianas, tiny porpoises that were once thought to be on the edge of extinction. They're also referred to as the panda of the sea. Officials say stricter enforcement and international cooperation are finally showing results, with illegal fishing in the protected zone dropping by nearly 98%. Take a look. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS Centenary Year, Kesariya at 100.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA, and Canada.